What's up, everybody? So my very first review, I did the Supermoto from SWM, the SM500R. And at the end, I tried to qualify the bang for the buck on horsepower against arguably the most reliable and common Supermoto on the market, the DRZ. Well, after some backlash, here I am with the DRZ. We're gonna take this bike out, see how it does, and at the end, give it that Motopologist rating. So fun fact, my first bike was a 1980 DR400. After several failed attempts at off-roading, I decided to ditch the dirt and the skill set that comes with that and put on a set of street tires and terrorize New Braunfels, Texas. In 2000, Suzuki came back with the 400 series motor, and in 2005, had a Supermoto setup already on the bike. From its outward appearance, it looks like Suzuki froze in time as the motor is still carbureted, and the only update to the motor has been the cam chain tensioners. It barely thumps out 39 horsepower from its liquid-cooled and dual overhead cam setup. The transmission is one gear shy of highway fun, but nobody knows the RPM anyways because it's not indicated on the dashboard. One thing this motor has done is created a cult following of people who believe fully this bike is the most reliable. To stay competitive in the Supermoto arena, you've got to get lighter, and Suzuki's trying just that. They use a single down tube that also doubles as an oil tank, fingers crossed it never gets punctured on the trail, into a twin spar frame that cradles the motor. Attached to that is an aluminum swing arm. Now, Suzuki touts this bike to be just as good off-road as it is on-road. They use a single rear shock with dog bone linkage and a set of inverted forks on the front. Now, with a name like SM in the title standing for Supermoto, you know it's going to come with a pair of 17-inch wheels. Suzuki stepped it up with gold anodized Excel hoops wrapped in 120 and 140 series tires. The front disc is a 300 millimeter with the twin piston caliper, and the rear runs a 220 millimeter disc with a single piston, plenty of stopping power to slide the back end around no problem. So with such an antiquated setup and so few changes throughout the years, why is this bike so popular on the streets? Well, let's take it out today and find out why. Cruising through the city streets brings me back to when I was 13 years old and a complete hooligan. With every opportunity, I would twist the throttle and hear that brop echo throughout the town. The DRZ's stock short gearing keeps you ahead of traffic while the lightweight chassis is quick to navigate tight surroundings. Thankfully, the suspension is plush with its 10 plus inches of travel, making it a comfortable ride. The DRZ can handle corners quite well, but does require some serious riding time to learn where to set your butt on the seat. I found my best corner to be closer to the tank, with a foot out on the tighter corners and knee only out on the sweepers. The low end torque helps erupt out the corners and will make you seem like you knew what you were doing when you messed up back there. The lightweight chassis flicks from side to side that'll make a beginner rider to a seasoned pro happy. The front suspension and brakes are forgiving, but in the rear, the brakes and shock are a little more adamant on proper riding style, so be cautious. While sans a 6th gear, the bike does highway speeds just with a little more buzzing in the mix. The tall 5th gear pulls towards 100 miles an hour, and the single cylinder seems to almost enjoy the pressure to perform. At speed, the chassis feels more dirt bike oriented than Supermoto, and of course, this is more skittish at the speed. The wind blasts as it should be expected. I mean, let's be real, you're on a dirt bike with not much more coverage than a paper plate would have. Comfort? What comfort? You're on a dirt bike. All jokes aside, I felt like the DRZ was comfortable as a Supermoto could get. The 2x4 shaped plank of saddle was soft enough to ride for a couple hours, but lacked any lower lumbar support. The relaxed sweep on the bars combined with a low peg height made body posture almost perfect. The reach to the ground wasn't bad, and the weight, or lack thereof, made the flamingo stance at a traffic light easy. I will say though, I'm still seeing green squares as the turn signal indicator illuminated half of Texas 2 feet from my cornea. For comfort, I'd give it a 7. I probably have to stop doing commuting section as almost all manufacturers give up on storage. Plus the DRZ would probably look terrible with a set of panniers anyhow. While storage isn't happening, neither is a smooth ride in traffic as the chassis seesaws back and forth mimicking the throttle on-off. While the DRZ quickly gets into the power band, it's quite buzzy. I will say though, for a change of pace, the DRZ can turn your morning commute into something out of an action movie. For commuting, I'd give it a 7. As mentioned earlier, the inner hooligan in me is only subsided by the fact I'd rather not spend $300 on bail. Riding around town is more than tempting with the bike's eager to lurch at every chance to feed more fuel through it. I feel like my glory days of riding BMX, cutting through parking lots and over curbs with wanton disregard for law arising. Feelings aside though, the nimble DRZ is a blast around town, but doesn't provide an overkill of power. For in town, I'd give it an 8. The highway is far from where any Supermoto belongs, but I think a bike should be able to handle all scenarios, and highway riding just happens to play a huge part of my life. The DRZ is twitchy on maneuvering and result in head shake if you're not careful. With only 5 speeds to play with, you'll constantly be tapping the gear lever up, hoping an internal 6th gear appears. The motor seems strained around 70, but still pulls fine when throttled. For highway riding, I'd give it a 6. While not built to be a smoking fast Supermoto, the only saving grace for the DRZ on acceleration is the gearing and the weight. The poor 400cc motor trying to keep up with the riding demands. The lack of a tachometer is cause for alarm, but as most people have said, throttle till it sputters and shift. For acceleration, I'd give it a 6. Handling is odd on the DRZ as it requires more saddle time to figure out what inputs the chassis prefers. One thing is for sure, you need to replace the stock tires ASAP with some Continental Conti Attack, Supermoto Evo tires, or Michelin 2CTs, as the stock ones allow the rear to slide out frequently mid to late corner. The rear brake easily overpowers the rear contact patch and can sometimes violently slide the chassis before going straight again, a recipe for high siding to a novice rider pushing past their riding abilities. Once tires and body position are all sorted, the bike performs quite well. For handling, I'll give it a 7. Overall, I think it's easy to see why the DRZ is so revered in the Supermoto community. It has the M1's tank reliability combined with the ability to do all things good. It's not a race bike diva that requires constant attention and maintenance, nor a war pig set on increasing calf muscle density. It's the perfect beginner bike and a great weekender for the experienced. As one DRZ owner told me, take care of the DRZ and the DRZ will take care of you. It's that simple. So why hasn't Suzuki changed the recipe in over 19 years while other makers are far more technology advanced? Well, one might easily argue, why change perfection? So if you liked this video and you want to see more of me rambling on about bikes, just click subscribe, please. I'm only at 100, I need more.